my VC career, I had a monumental moment about a year ago when we had our CIO council, and I asked our CIO council a simple question. Is cloud computing as big a trend as the transition from mainframes was to client server? And I was shocked when the CIOs were unanimously agreed that this was as big a trend, if not bigger. And the reason for that turned out to be CIOs had sort of undergone and witnessed the transition with SaaS computing with companies like Salesforce.com, where applications were being hosted on cloud infrastructure. And once they saw the success for that, suddenly they understood that the need for servers within the enterprise days were numbered, and they no longer needed that infrastructure.
So cloud computing is essentially IT provided as a service over the internet or corporate intranet in a pay-per-use or pay-by-the-drink consumption model. The value proposition is much higher ROI. Essentially, IT executives no longer need to buy masses of equipment to be able to accommodate the highest spikes in their workloads. They can essentially turn the volume up or down based on their needs at the time. It's really IT as a utility.
In my prior life, I deployed large-scale enterprise systems like PeopleSoft. And when I did so, one of the things you quickly learned is that it wasn't the complexity of the application that really made it difficult to deploy. It was actually all the infrastructure that sat beneath it and the tuning and so forth. And as soon as we met with Workday, I saw immediately that they had solved 90% of the problems with enterprise deployment of large-scale software systems, was that they managed all the infrastructure. And furthermore, they captured the customization of that software at the interface level so that you could actually customize the software even though it was hosted and even though it was used by multiple customers. So they took all the complexity out of managing an application of that magnitude.
Dave Duffield and I started Workday back in 2005. We had spent a long time building PeopleSoft into a leading company, but in the previous generation of technology, client-server technology. The old generation of systems were built going on 20 years now, and they were built in a day when the internet didn't exist, browsers didn't exist. Really, the companies had very few users of these complex systems. Fast forward 20 years, companies are now global. The employees are used to using systems that look like the consumer internet, look like Amazon, look like eBay. The upgrades have become too painful. And so you fast forward and say, well, those systems were great in their day, but there is a better way, and the better way is software as a service that solves a lot of those problems. The market is ripe for change. It's a $25 billion market that hasn't had new innovation in about 25 years. So the core traditional market is really not growing. The SaaS part of that market, the new players like Workday, is growing 30 to 50% a year. So you're seeing this tidal wave, this shift from one computing cycle to another computing cycle. And so the old guard's actually declining in sales while the new guard is growing very rapidly. And I think the best example in recent times is look at the success of Salesforce.com. They're today a $10 billion company. 10 years ago, they were a startup.
Software as a service takes all of the confusion and all of the expense associated with the previous generation of technology, and we bring that in-house and we manage it for our customers. Customers no longer have to acquire the hardware nor manage the complexity associated with the change in technology or growth in capacity. Workday brings all of our customers to the most current release of the software perpetually. So Workday's products are increasing in functionality with each update, and we expect that functionality to expand beyond the traditional human capital management applications into financials, which are already being adopted by some early companies. As that financials footprint is accepted in the marketplace when we prove ourselves, we'll move into distribution, and we expect over the course of the next 10 years to displace Oracle and SAP as the leading global applications provider across the globe.
Dave and Anil's team at Workday has really been phenomenal, really for two reasons. The first is that you just got to love a team that's been there and done that. And they really have, and it really reduces the risk and the investment overall to see them play the same playbook that they played before. Now, what about that playbook? The playbook that they actually used before was to really develop a human resources system. Well, that human resources system manages what? People. But it turns out 50% of our economy in the United States is services-based. So when you control human resources, you actually control the assets of that organization, and therefore you can do financial systems and inventory systems and so forth. And that is exactly how they disrupted the space in the client-server market, and it's exactly how they're going to disrupt it again in this software as a service market.
So as enterprises look to the cloud and look to develop new applications for the cloud, they need new tools and services for building and deploying those applications quickly and managing and scaling them quickly. Platform as a service, therefore, is a very attractive opportunity where there currently is no major incumbent. It's really greenfield for a new company to come in and potentially dominate the space. When we found Engine Yard, we realized they were experiencing explosive growth, yet the founding team, the management team, did not particularly have a ton of experience with building and scaling companies. And we knew that their timing was impeccable. They caught lightning in a bottle with the cross-section of the development framework and cloud computing and virtualization, and there was explosive demand for the products, which is why it presented an attractive investment opportunity. And we knew that we could tap the NEA network to surround the founding team with proven managers and managers who have been there and can really take this growth to the next level.
If you're a development team and you start out, your needs are very simple. You don't need too much, just a few pieces of software and you can get your application up and running. But with success, the application grows and the complexity of that application and the other pieces of software that are necessary to keep it running become more complex and more diverse. And that's where the complications begin. Engine Yard delivers a platform as a service, so the development team doesn't have to worry about building and maintaining a complex application infrastructure. That's what we deliver, and it makes development teams more effective. They build better software and they build it faster and they delight their end users, and that's really what it's all about. Other companies delivering a platform as a service tend to focus on a lock-in or proprietary technology. Engine Yard focuses on open source. We integrate that and make it ready for prime time, and that's what our customers like. We create technology faster than businesses and consumers can use it. And what good companies do is they find ways to harness the technology to solve a problem, provide a business service, make a consumer's life easier or better. And when I was at Salesforce.com, I saw the beginning of platform as a service, cloud computing, and software as a service, and we've just begun. And the opportunity to really change the way businesses and consumers consume technology is just tremendously exciting to me. It's a change the world opportunity. It's why I'm at Engine Yard. I think this decade's going to be one of the best for entrepreneurship and for IT that we've seen probably in 30 years.
Every now and then you get the opportunity to see an athlete who's really in the zone, who can really dominate a game. And one of the things I think I feel really strongly about NEA is that we've been doing enterprise and infrastructure investing for over 30 years, and we've been market-leading thinkers for that time frame. And at some point you actually begin to see where the puck is going to be after you've been doing things that long. And you take software as a service, for example, where we invested in WebEx and Salesforce, and we're doing it again with cloud computing and the next generation of software as a service with Workday and Engine Yard. And I think we will fundamentally change the way the entire enterprise software market looks today.